Hey guys, and welcome to Titan Insider, your inside look at Titan views on world news. I'm your host for this episode, Ryan Matthey, here today in the city of Culver City to talk about this 2020 census coming up just next week on March 12th. We're here at this event reaching out to communities who are considered hard to count, which includes veterans, people in the LGBTQ plus community, non-English speakers, and such forth. So let's go inside to learn a little bit more about what the census is and specifically how it's going to be affecting you guys. For those of you who don't know, the census is taken every 10 years per the U.S. Constitution just to figure out how many people live here. There's going to be people living in houses, living in apartments, living in their car, and people who don't even have a house at all. It's really just trying to figure out how many people live in this one place. And we see here the United States Census has set up this table, including flyers and information about what the census is and how it is going to be affecting your community. And thankfully for us today, we do have a representative from the U.S. Census Bureau, Miss Linda Marshall-Smith. Thank you for coming today. Really appreciate it. Hi there. And we have some questions with you about really what the census is in general. And so tell us, what is used with the information, or what do you use with the information that you get from the census?
Many things. The census affects many people's lives on an everyday basis. Not only for government decision making, urban planning, where we're going to put a new highway, do we have to fix a park here or there, fix potholes, that sort of thing. But also private industry uses the census data. Do you ever think where a Trader Joe's or why a Trader Joe's decides they're going to open up in this town on this block and not in that town on that block? Because they research the data from the Census Bureau's demographic and data files and determine this is the best place to open. So it's for far-reaching decision-making for private industry, university research, housing trends. I mean, in everyday life, everyone uses the census. In fact, we have a program called Statistics in Schools, where from pre-K to 12th grade, we make statistics simple for kids by showing them how in everyday life statistics are used and how Census Bureau data is used. So it's in our lives all the time. We just don't realize it.
Sounds like it affects everybody every day. It does. Tell us, how much money is being kind of allocated from information from the census?
It's in excess of about $675 billion per year that is distributed to communities, states, local areas, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and it's based on population count. So however many people live in a community, that's how much of a piece of the pie they will get ultimately. And whatever we determine the population count is for 2020 is what carries through for the next 10 years to 2030. So once we get our count, we can't change it. Once we get our count for 2020, that's the money we'll get for the next 10 years.
So there's a big push, I would say, for events like this here at Culver City or elsewhere in the other communities about getting these hard-to-count communities to come out to be counted a part of this. So how are you, as a census representative, reaching out to make sure that these communities are heard?
Yes. Well, first of all, we have a tool on census.gov called Roam, which helps us pinpoint what the hard-to-count communities are. And here in Culver City, you can see that they've done a wonderful job of showing what hard-to-count communities are in this area. And we do outreach, such as these events. We reach out to local government leaders. We reach out to faith-based leaders because you're a trusted voice in your community. And if you share the news about how the census is safe, it's easy, and it's important to your constituents or congregation, odds are they will listen to you. We also hire from within these hard-to-count communities. And a hard-to-count community can be everything from a veterans community or seniors or people that don't speak English as a first language, or people that have just moved here from another country, or even renters, because sometimes a renter might think, oh, the owner will do the form, I don't have to do it. Wrong. If you live at an address, you have to fill out your form. Colleges could be, challenged to count, people that live on campus or off campus, and what do I do? Do I fill it out? Do I not fill it out? So there are many of these hard to count areas. And we do as much outreach as we can, working with universities directly, working with, as I said, these faith-based leaders, working with organizations, nonprofits who tend to have constituents within these populations. And we spread the word as much as we can. And what will be interesting is once the census begins, and we will see where we are getting responses and where we're not, then we can focus our efforts on those specific areas in real time to where we need to get out and do more outreach.
That's fantastic. You were showing us this sign a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Would you mind talking to us why we have some certain areas in different colors and what they exactly mean?
Yes. The dark blue colors here are hard to count. So the darkest blue areas are what we've determined to be areas where people haven't responded. And as the colors get lighter, is the better the response. So here we can actually see, well, this area we need to do some work right here. But if we start the census and all of a sudden, because of our outreach and because we've talked to several churches in this community and we've talked to several landlords and everybody knows they have to complete their census, suddenly this patch now is becoming more this color, but over here it's turning blue. So we will then shift our efforts to go to where we're needed to get the outreach.
It just sounds like this never ends. It's constantly reaching out.
Yeah,
So it sounds like this isn't just happening. This isn't just a once every 10-year thing for you. You're constantly working towards this count every 10 years, correct?
Yes, and the decennial census, which happens every 10 years, and here's an interesting point. The first census was 1990. No, I'm sorry. The first census was 1790. Thank you very much. And this one, this year, is only the 24th. The census is in business every day of the year, day in and day out, and we are always collecting data. That's what the Census Bureau is. It's the data collection agency of the United States government. So we are always collecting data, and we are always working to find, the information that business and communities and governments need to conduct their everyday business.
And the big thing about this census is this is the first time people are able to participate via the internet. What are you guys hoping to expect from that?
Well, we are hoping that people will do it. It's only 9 questions. We're hoping people will do it when they get their invitation to go online to do it. And if they don't, they can still do it by the paper form. They could also do it by phone. So there's a lot of options in filling it out. But if we finally, in the several weeks into the operation, and we haven't heard back from addresses, we will send out the census takers into the field to knock on the door.
And about these census takers, where are these census takers coming from?
We have been recruiting for them for several months now. We will be hiring several thousand in our area here in LA County. They are trained, specifically trained for this position, and we are still recruiting. So if anyone is interested in some part-time work, pays about $25 an hour. It's not bad. You get paid for mileage for your car, 57.5 cents a mile. And you will go, you will get a set of cases to go and knock on a door and see if you can ask for people to complete the form with you in person. So sometimes people feel more comfortable doing it in person.
And then last question before I let you go. There seems to be this fear of census takers coming up to your door and feeling that they could get spoofed by people who are impersonating census takers who are not actually. So would you tell us how the Census Bureau is making sure we're easily identifying census takers as census takers?
Yes. First of all, you can go to www.2020census.gov. And there is a section on the website that deals specifically with frauds and scams and what to look out for and what to be able to say, oh, this is a fraud, this is a scam. And it will tell you, what to look for. But people will have an identification badge. They will have census equipment like a computer or a cell phone. They will have briefcases and things from the census. So, they will be easily identifiable as real census workers.
Perfect. This has been a very informative. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're going to continue on with the rest of this open house right now. We're going to continue looking forward at all the flyers that our census taker has brought to make sure that everybody leaves feeling well informed and they're able to post these and spread them out to their likewise communities. We see here a timeline of what's going to be happening with the census where it says March 12th is the first day that the census is going to begin, and it continues all the way through the middle of March until April 1st. And then finally, if you hadn't responded to either the invitation to take it online or doing it by ballot, you can have a census taker come to your house specifically and count you that way. And continuing on, we have another interviewer over here. We have Jesse Mays, which is Assistant City Manager here in Culver City. Say thank you for talking to us today. Really appreciate it. So tell me, you're throwing an event like this to do exactly what?
The purpose of this event is really to reach out to stakeholders in the community who have contacts in hard-to-reach communities. So we did specific outreach before this meeting to reach out to churches, schools, community organizations, the leaders of those organizations, and we said, hey, come on down on Saturday, learn a little bit more about the census, pick up some print materials to reach out to your constituencies and the people who participate in your organizations. because we want the information to come from them. They're a trusted resource in their community, and the church leaders or the school leaders or the school volunteers, those are the people who are going to be best suited to get the information out there to their folks about the census.
So obviously throwing events like this is going to persuade them in some way to come out. But for people who need just a little more persuasion, what would you say, hey, you should be participating in the census because?
I'd say the number one reason is it means more funding for your community. So if you're a member of your community, who can say no to more funding? So a lot of federal programs, they rely on this census data to determine which share we get. And so we want our fair share. You want your fair share, come out and fill out the census and make sure we get our fair share. So that's the number one reason, I'd say.
Everybody likes money, man. What do you got against money? Anyways, all right, thank you, Jesse. I really appreciate you talking to us today. Of course. All right, so while I continue to learn about the census here in Culver City, let's throw it back to the city of Fullerton, where our reporter Alexis Flores is talking to fellow Titans on the Cal State Fullerton campus about their thoughts on the census and what it means to be a part of it. Alexis, what's going on?
Thank you, Ryan. My name is Alexis Flores, and I'm going to talk to some of you guys about the Census 2020. Come on over, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the census really affects funding on a national scale. So I have my friend over here, Maria. So Maria, can you tell me your full name?
My name is Maria Rosales, and I'm a first year here at Cal State Fullerton.
Perfect. And so can you tell me a little bit about what you know of the Census 2020?
So I don't know too much about it. However, I do know that it's the count of the population, and it occurs every 10 years. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's actually right. And you just missed how it really affects the funding. Mm-hmm. So there's $675 billion that's really going to be affected by the national population that is taken for the census. And it really affects on economy level on where businesses really want to actually go into businesses, the different communities that they want to help out, or where they just want to project their next 10 years of business for. It also affects education funding, as well as community projects, nonprofits, and a whole bunch more for community development.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's an important aspect?
I think it is important because, as you said, it kind of goes directly to the students. And so although people like me aren't kind of informed on the matter, I think it's really important for us to know about it because, as you said, it's going to affect us. Mm-hmm. And so I think if we don't know about it, then how are we going to go about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good thing that you guys inform us about it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this really is going to help determine FAFSA for the next couple or for the next decade and housing even after we graduate. So it's a very important aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So kind of like our involvement in the census kind of leaves a footprint for those to come.
Exactly, for the next decade at least. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. And now with more of that, the census really goes on to tell you a little bit about how community involvement and business-related relationships partner up, and more on that, the student aspect of who gets the dorm, the funding for dorms, as well as campus relationships, and even more connections on building and repairing the buildings here on campus. We have our other friend, Sarah, here. Can you state your entire name?
Hi, I'm Sarah Banuelos. I'm a second-year student here at CSU.
Perfect, thank you. And so can you tell me a little bit about what you know about the census?
I know it's like funding. I know like a general idea of it. It has to do with funding.
Yeah.
That's as much as I probably know.
So the census really takes place every decade. And so it's about something for college students. They need to know if you're going to live with your parents, you are counted with your parents at your home. If you're living on campus, you are counted with the university, and your head RA or someone in charge of the buildings that you're living on campus with will let you know that they're going to be taking count of you. Yeah, if you're living by yourself, you really have to think about that, and you have to put your own information in for the census. It really helps determine for the next decade, again, housing after we graduate, financial aid. I know you said you're a second year, so financial aid is a huge aspect. Yep. Scholarships, as well as more reparations for the actual college that you're in. And on the outside level, it just really helps on community development. So again, nonprofit work, if you want to make sure the roads are clear, free of bumps on the road, making sure that there's no graffiti on there, helping the homeless population. So it affects really the entire nation.
It really does.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for all of us to know that. I mean, I just know a general idea, and I think just knowing that, it helps me a lot.
Hopefully this has really informed you, and we really do appreciate you. Yeah. Why would you say to someone to participate in the census?
It helps the community in whole. Like, I mean, if you want funding for school, even that is like a big thing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully our students really understand the meaning of the census behind it and participate in Census 2020. Thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully you all learned a little bit about Census 2020. Catch us next time on The Insider for more Titan views on World News. I'm Alexis Flores.